So I'm doing week 3, vlab 1. Uh, if you're following along in your lab book, that would be lab 5. So I went ahead and I already clicked on our vlab 1. So I'm going to go ahead and start our assessment. Don't forget to download the lab files so you know what you're needing to do. Here are the 3 screen capture that we're going to need. And don't forget to answer the appropriate questions. Once you've downloaded all of that, go ahead and access the lab. Again, I'm using Chrome, and so you may get a few pop-ups with Java. Just go ahead and click OK. I have noticed that, again, this does take a little while to load. You may receive a few pop-ups. My machine took several minutes to load. I didn't get a Java pop-up this time, but with previous labs I did. So once your lab is fully loaded, like the previous labs, we're going to be going to our ISS-A VM server farm RDP folder. That is where all of our RDP connectors are stored at for this virtual machine. In this lab, we're going to be connecting to our target Windows 2 machine initially. Remember, for the password, we actually want to log in as student for our target Windows 2 machine. And the password is going to be our typical password. And remember, use caps lock, ISS316, S, turn off caps lock to do the remaining word security. If you do that, you will not have password issues. If you try doing shift while typing, you will have password issues. Keep that in mind. Alright, so once we're here, we're going to navigate to Internet Explorer. We actually want to browse to our target Windows 1 VM. You may get a Windows 8 or Internet Explorer 8 pop-up. Just go and ignore it. Type in the IP address of the target 1 Windows machine, which is 172.0.103. We actually should get a failure to connect page because we have not opened up the ports on the firewall or server 1. So even though we can see it, even though it is there, we cannot open up the web page because the port is being blocked. So how can we verify that we can connect, that we can actually communicate with it, just not access it via HTTP? What we can do is we can try pinging it. So start, you can either type CMD in the run box or just go to command prompt, and we want to ping that IP address. That's 172.30.0.103, and it is responding. So it is responding to ping, or ICMP, it's just not responding to our web request. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and exit out of our RDP session, and we're going to connect to our target Windows 01 machine. This is actually where we're going to log in as our corp/administrator, and again, password, same password. If you don't do it with the caps lock, again, you're going to have problems. That is where I see the most people having the most problems, is just the password. Give it a few minutes, it will let you log in. Once it's there, you may have some random pop-ups. Go ahead and close all the pop-ups. We're going to click on Start. We are looking for Windows Firewall and Advanced Security. If it's not there, we can actually go to Administrative Tools, and it will be here as well. Multiple ways to access it, just depending on what way you want to do it. So once it loads, we are actually going to change a inbound rule. Because what's happening is, on target Windows 02, we are actually trying to connect to it. So it's an inbound to target 1. So we're actually going to have to create a new rule. New rule. You could also right-click, type new rule. You could over here to click on new rule. Just kind of depends on how you want to do it. We can do it by program, by port, by predefined service or role or a custom role. For our lab, we're going to be predefined, and we're going to allow for World Wide Web Service, HTTP. We could also do it by port, by turning on port 80, assuming that HTTP is using the default port. So once we do that, click on next. It will verify that there are no existing rules. We're going to go and click on next. Do we want to allow it? We want to allow it only if it's secured, or do we want to go ahead and block it? For our lab, we want to allow the connection. Give it a second or two, and we are all set. Let's go ahead and look at the properties of it. So find the rule that we just put in, right-click, properties. We allow the connection. It's for HTTP or port 80. But this is only going to allow HTTP traffic. What happens if we want additional? So before we go and close this, I want to look at protocols and ports just to make sure. Again, TCP, it's using port 80. But what happens if, again, we want to connect to port 443 or HTTPS? We're going to have to create a new rule, a predefined, secured World Wide Web. Again, we could do that by just doing port and opening up port 443. Once you select your predefined, next. This already exists. We're going to add it again though. Allow the connection. And we are all good. Let's go back and verify that it works. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of the RDP session for target Windows 01. I'm going to go back to target Windows 02. Log back in as student. Caps lock ISS316S. Turn off caps lock. Finish spelling out the word security. And I'm going to retype in our address. 172.30.0.103. And now we should see in our IIS7 page. Now let's see if HTTPS works. This should be using a certificate, and it actually should not work because it's not fully set up. But if it was set up, it would let us connect. And actually that is all for this lab. It will eventually time out, but the HTTPS was additional for this lab. Thank you and have a great night.